Amongst the various painting genres that exist in the world, acrylic painting is quite new. However, this has not hindered it in gaining popularity rapidly. That's because, unlike oils, it is water-based, thus making it easier to use. Unlike watercolour paints, its range of colours is amazing, and it has more body than watercolours, making it suitable to create pictures that look textured. The colours of acrylic paints are very versatile and easy to mix, and the techniques you can use are also quite varied. This gives you endless possibilities to express yourself while painting. Your artwork is not restrained to any one type of subject. You can paint a lush landscape or delve into abstract art just as easily. The medium itself is great for beginners, as you can just paint over areas that you feel need more development, once the paint is dried, making it very user-friendly indeed. History of acrylics. Synthetic acrylic paint first started being used for artwork around the 1940s and more commonly in the 1950s. The acrylic resin, which was developed into acrylic paint, was invented by Otto Rohm and with Haas, and shortly after this intervention, the acrylic emulsions came into being. The polymer-based material was at first used as house paint, but soon artists realized how it was much easier to use than oil paints. The primary reason was that the paint dried much faster than oils. That made it a much easier medium to work with, either on location or within the studio setting. It also meant that artists could be more versatile and work on several paintings at the same time, without having to have the studio room to wait while paints were dry enough to move the artwork. That was a huge advantage. In fact, some painters who prefer to work in oils use acrylics for the underpainting because of this ability to dry fast. Soon, artists like Kenneth Noland, Barnett Newman and Mark Rothko started experimenting with acrylics. Andy Warhol, Bridget Riley and David Hockney are some other famous names of the time to have used these paints. If you look at the works of Warhol, you will see that what startled people about works like the Campbell's Soup was the brightness of the images achieved with acrylics. It was a new format, and on that people were not accustomed to. Some famous acrylic paint works include Little Electric Chair, Campbell's Soup Can by Andy Warhol, White Centre by Mark Rothko, and Current by Bridget Riley. All of these artists enjoyed the use of acrylics and excelled in the use that produced some of the most memorable images of the late part of last century. If you think of the times of Warhol, this was during an epoch when op art was the vogue, and this bright and almost garish style was being used for fashion, home interiors, and all other kinds of decoration. More about acrylics and their benefits. Acrylic paints used have acrylic polymer emulsion with pigment suspended within them. This particular type of paint dries very fast and has many other properties that have made its use so widespread. The pigments are stronger than in other types of water-based paints, and thus the colour that can be obtained is first-rate. Some people have been put off acrylics because of this abrasive intrusion into the art world with colours that they consider being too bright. However, the quality of paints these days means that mixing colours from the primary colours is easy, and that the artists, to obtain a certain luminescence that was hard to obtain with other paint mediums, can use mediums. There are so many benefits to opting for acrylic paints instead of some others. It is water-soluble and can be diluted with other agents like pastes, gels, etc. The mixing and melding helps the artist achieve the desired texture and look of the painting, and there are so many different paints with enhanced quality available these days that you will be spoiled for choice. There are also special brushes that have been made for acrylic paints, since the paint would dry too quickly onto regular brushes and spoil them. Another thing is that this is a relatively new paint to the market. The kind of gels and finishes that are being produced are diverse, and new ones are being added all the time. Although the material is different, acrylic paintings can be made to look like oil paintings or watercolours. In case you want it to look like a watercolour, just dilute it enough to give the characteristic thin glaze. In case of oil painting, like consistency, just lather on layers of the paint.